everyone. We are a little bit past the top of the hour for this webinar, so we're going to go ahead and start. I see that there's still a few more people that are entering. Welcome, welcome. Just want to say my name is Tia Gamble. You can't see me on the screen right now because it's not about me, but I'm from a Cloud Academy, and I'm so excited. We are so excited that you guys are here to learn a little bit more about skills intelligence and why managing your employee skills are so important. Leading today's conversation is Mark Judita and Greg Schwarzkopf. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared with you via email within 36 hours. At the end of the webinar, Mark and Greg will be able to answer any of your questions. So feel free to use the question box to pose any of your questions. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let Greg take over.
Okay, thank you very much, Tia. Thanks everyone for joining today. So again, my name is Greg Schwarzkopf. I head up our customer success organization here at Cloud Academy. And here's a rough outline of what we're going to cover today. I'll be sharing quite a few facts and figures as it relates to the reality of today's tech labor market. There is a plethora of information out there. We've consolidated some of those facts to facilitate today's conversation. We'll talk about how those facts really help reinforce and the importance of technical development, tech team development. We'll also look at what some companies are doing and maybe what some companies are getting wrong as they attempt to retain and attract new employees. And then we'll have a live demonstration of our skills intelligence platform. And as Tia said, of course, time for some questions and answers. So let's go ahead and get started. The reality of the labor market today is that there is a growing skills gap. It's been predicted, and we're seeing that in the last couple of years, and it's really hindering productivity and growth. According to a recent McKinsey survey on workforce needs, 9 in 10 executives say that their organizations are already facing skills gaps, or they expect those skills gaps to develop in the next 5 years. So in other words, 87% of these organizations are either facing skills gaps now, or they expect to very soon. And most of the respondents say that it's a priority to address these gaps, but they're not certain how to. In addition, there's a recent report from the DevOps Institute that says that insufficient IT resource skills are a huge challenge. In fact, 40% of their respondents ranked it as one of the top 3 challenges that they're facing, even higher than things like funding and budgets and solving for technical debt. And of all the skills that were surveyed in that study, tech skills ranked highest in terms of identified skills gaps. And the total estimated impact on this across G20 nations could be as high as $11 trillion in terms of lost opportunity, lost productivity, and just really economic impact. You can see on the slide some other metrics. There's a number of tech jobs out there that are currently unfilled, and that number is expected to increase. And if we look at people coming out of colleges and universities, there aren't enough of them to fill the tech jobs that are currently needed and those that are also forecasted. If we continue on, there are some key roles in the tech industry that are most impacted by this skills gap. We see that cloud engineering, data management, AI are really the top job roles that have the greatest impact. And it's because there's so much new innovation in areas like quantum computing, AI, machine learning, blockchain, robotics, cloud technologies. These technologies drive the need for talent in these key roles. We're seeing that 29% of IT companies believe that they have the right tech talent. So that's a pretty low percentage. And in fact, the impact that we've seen is that as many as 50% of enterprise IT organizations are saying they may delay their plans, especially around cloud migration, because they don't feel that they have the right talent to perform those activities. So it's a real impact. And it has metrics associated with it. And then when you layer onto this, the Great Resignation, which we've all heard about, we've read about, it's not anything new. In fact, more than 4 million Americans quit their jobs last year. And a lot has been said about the Great Resignation in terms of service industry jobs, but tech jobs aren't immune. As we just saw, tech teams across the world were already struggling to get by with fewer people, under growing pressure to perform with innovative and evolving technologies. And a survey by Talent LMS and Workable shows that 72%, a whopping 72% of employees working in tech and IT roles are thinking of quitting their jobs in the next 12 months. So the talent market was already short to begin with. Now we've got people moving around. Additionally, Gartner has said that only 29% of IT workers are interested in staying in their current roles. And there's a variety of reasons for this. As you can see on the slide, certainly COVID has had an impact. It has forced people to either rethink the jobs that they're in, or it's accelerated some thinking or changes in terms of the types of skills that are important to them. We can also see that people are feeling that companies are maybe more focused or too focused on attracting new talent instead of nurturing existing talent. And interestingly, a remarkable percentage of tech employees believe that it is up to their employer to proactively provide training. And we'll talk a little bit more in terms of what tech teams are actually saying through some other surveys. So underskilled job markets to support growing needs, tech talent that's moving. It's also just expensive and time consuming to replace people. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics has consistently reported that 50%, around 50% of college graduates leave their entry-level jobs within 2 years. And so those people need to be replaced. And because these tech individuals tend to earn higher salaries, it can cost as much as $30,000 to replace someone who's left the organization. So consider the cost of advertising, recruiting, onboarding, also lost productivity or revenues while those jobs sit empty. And when you think about the more skilled or the more senior tech employees, the costs get even higher. So very expensive to replace lost talent. It's also just expensive and time consuming to find talent. Hopefully some of the folks on this call are doing a good job of that. Certainly at Cloud Academy, we see the same impact in the market. It can cost, according to a research report from DevSkiller, as much as $50,000 to recruit, hire, onboard a senior developer. So what it comes down to through all these different metrics and facts and figures is that most companies can't afford turnover in their IT teams and their tech teams. In fact, there were a couple of studies in late 2021 cited by the Harvard Business Review that reported that mid-sized business executives are overwhelmingly saying that attracting and retaining talent is their #1 challenge. And about half of them said they weren't sure if they had the tools to fix the problem. But we're trying, right? Many IT leaders are trying a variety of tactics to get employees to stay. Some of these will look familiar to you. Broadening the hire requirements, casting a broader net, which is going to cast a broader net, but also has the risk of candidates who may not be a great fit. There's certainly financial means, signing bonuses, performance incentives, flexible hours. That's something that a lot of employees, especially with COVID, have indicated is very important to them. Cool organizational culture. I think we've all been seeing that with tech companies in the last 20 or so years. But really, it's education and training programs that are surfacing as one of the most important ways, especially from the perspective of tech employees themselves, to feel good about their employment and to feel productive and to stay in those jobs. And we're going to dig into that a little bit more. There is a survey out again by Talent LMS and Workable that showed that 91% of tech employees want more training opportunities. Pretty remarkable percentage. And of those, many have said that they want to both learn new skills as well as improve their existing skills, which really isn't surprising in tech, given the rapid advancements in technologies. In fact, the tech industry is one of the most challenging industries in terms of training because of the rapid evolution of technologies. And something you know today and a skill you've acquired today may become adequate or obsolete in the future. Also illustrated from the same survey, employees are saying that that the biggest motivator is training, of all the different ways that they could be more motivated in their jobs and stay in their jobs. Employees have said that training programs and those who've engaged in training programs have reported about an 81% boost in productivity. And so training is very important, not just for retention, but it's also important when selecting a company as well. A Gallup Amazon study found that 65% of job seekers say that employer provided training is really important to them as they're considering a new job. And of those people who find training important, the majority of them, also about 65%, want to perform that upskilling while on the job versus on their own time. And when asked about the types of formats that learners would prefer most, we can see that video-based training is a very popular format. So kind of a conclusion here. It's hopefully pretty clear. Training and upskilling, it's important. It's important to retain tech talent. It's also important to attract tech talent. And really, it's cheaper to upskill and to train than to hire. And this brings us to e-learning. E-learning in particular provides a cost-effective and flexible way to develop skills. In fact, in this era of limited travel and limited face-to-face interaction, we found a lot of traction with e-learning compared to, say, instructor-based training. In fact, many companies have been turning to e-learning so that they can use it to retain and upskill their employees. However, what a lot of companies are beginning to realize is that e-learning alone actually results in lower ROI, and it really doesn't prevent the same costly employee turnover. And here's why. Too often, e-learning programs aren't really well linked to an employee's job requirements or their career path. Most e-learning is unstructured, it's self-service. This actually often results in low adoption. Employees don't know where to begin or what training is most important for their role. Their managers may not know this either, so both are really left to guess. And because making time for training is such a challenge, there's really no time to waste on taking training that's unnecessary, that doesn't yield results and tangible benefits. And so in the end, e-learning programs can fail because they're just not planned well enough. But there's a better way. So what if you could equip your people with the specific skills they need for the jobs they're in precisely when they need it? And what if you could pinpoint your team's tech skill strengths and gaps and make data-driven decisions about which projects someone should be assigned to or which teams should be further developed? And what if your employees could really manage their own careers and skills growth, knowing that what they're learning has real applicability to their jobs and to the success of your company? And that brings us back to Cloud Academy and Cloud Academy Skills Intelligence. We're the only e-learning solution that combines industry-leading training content along with an advanced technology platform where employees and their managers can proactively manage their skills, both for the jobs they're in today and the careers they want to pursue. It works like this. We start based on the key job roles in your organization. We baseline teams to build your initial skills inventory. This provides real-time insight into the types of skills they have, the proficiency levels they have, and where we may need to close some gaps. From there, we can develop and improve skills through training content. This can be our training content, this can be your training content, this can even be other commercially available training, but we'll provide an organized and optimized curriculum of courses, quizzes, hands-on labs, and exams to build the skills and to validate the skills. And it's a continuing process. We can also use services and we can use events and activities to create enthusiasm and excitement, some competition and collaboration. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to turn it over to Mark for a demonstration of skills intelligence.
Thank you, Greg, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Jadita. I'm our Global Vice President of our strategic clients. And Greg, really great insights. I really would love to show the audience today on how to bring this to life within the organization, how we're helping those strategic clients I mentioned accomplish success with our platform today. So this is where I'm going to take you at the end. So this is what the result of a really strategic custom learning program will help you achieve within your organization. So this is our skill intelligence platform. And I'm going to walk you through what everything inside of our platform is built for and the value that it can help provide your organization. So we realize that companies that are adopting e-learning tools and learning platforms, they have a desire and need to make it customized to their organization. And from a best practices standpoint, what you're seeing here is our organization tab. We recommend setting up the platform to mirror your hierarchy or for specific initiatives that you might have. So some examples could be certification initiatives. If you're a partner with one of the public cloud providers who need to achieve certifications, this is a great way to build cohort style learning and helping you accelerate your certs. Job roles, a lot of companies that we're working with are deploying new initiatives like Talent 2.0 or career frameworks, where they're redefining job roles inside the organizations and mapping skills and competencies to those roles and setting them up in Cloud Academy. So an employee always knows what's next as they move across their career ladder. Additionally, what you're seeing on the screen is 3 other sections in our core admin function. So training is going to be anything actionable that you're looking to ask your team to do. So it could be that baseline assessment that Greg was speaking to, and I'm going to hone in a little bit on this one here in a second. Training plans would be the mechanism of setting up customized plans for your team that comprised of those courses, hands-on labs, quizzes, exams. They can include even some Q&A or office hour sessions, but it's a blend of learning activities that you assign out to a team or an individual to help draw them to the platform and keep them on track. Job roles are something that are new to Cloud Academy. We have 5 out-of-the-box job roles today, but this is a growing area we're hearing it as a need in the marketplace is how do we build out career path progression for our associates? And I'm going to also share a new innovation that we are building here at Cloud Academy called Careers, which allows you to fully customize the job roles, but sometimes having a benchmark of what skills in each role needs to have is helpful. So we do have some out-of-the-box job roles. Additionally, under intelligence, this is the output of anything that is consumed within Cloud Academy. So skill profiles are going to bring you to that visualization dashboard that allows you to track your tech skills, competencies, and certs across your org. Analytics are going to give you an overall view into the time spent, where your folks are spending their time. In reports, we have a robust reporting tool that allows you to extract data from Cloud Academy, as well as APIs to integrate with your internal systems. I'll quickly touch on Content Engine, then I'm going to walk you through the flow of baselining, developing, and validating skill sets. So Content Engine is the ability to customize this. So really important to organizations that don't know where to start and maybe need some advice on customizing a learning program in alignment to the new roles that they're creating. So with this tool, you can actually upload your own content into Cloud Academy with custom resources. And then once you upload that initial piece of content, whether it's a PowerPoint, PDF, a video, we do ingest SCORM files as well. And you can also hyperlink out to other client content or even internal sites as well. You can create your own custom library. So it would show up in your content library. So also can be leveraged as an LMS in a way. Additionally, with Content Engine, you have the ability to build your own exams, questions that would fill into those exams, which ultimately can tie into your skill profiles. These skill profiles can be completely customized to your organization as well. So you can track skills that are even proprietary to your organization. Hands-on labs is a growing area of customization that we're hearing from the marketplace. Hands-on labs, they can be created on the big 3 public cloud platforms, and it gives you the ability to really have that experiential learning. So we're teaching you the concepts and the variety of other ways that we do our labs, but sometimes it's really important to do it the way that your organization does it in the services that you use. So we give the ability to customize those labs to your org. And then all of this content would be built into a learning path, which ultimately would be assigned out in a training plan. All right. So now I'm going to walk you through, after we get your team onboarded, we get the program set up appropriately. The first thing that we do is we assign out an assessment. So under this training tab here, I've clicked into assessments, and now I'm choosing which types of assessments that I want to assign out to the organization. So we do these 2 different ways. And from a theoretical standpoint, these are going to be multiple choice. You can see they're about 15 minutes in duration, some even as short as 5 minutes. But the goal of this is to test an individual's knowledge. And as a best practice, we recommend setting the right expectations when you're getting ready to do this baseline and letting your team know the expectation is 0. We don't expect you to come in and be experts right away. If you are, that's great. But the goal of this is to really get an understanding where the organization needs to focus their time and effort into upskilling and potentially reskilling initiatives as well. In addition to testing somebody's theoretic knowledge, we do lab challenges as well. And these are going to be more of scenario-based learning. So we're going to give you an outcome to achieve, and you're going to be assessed based on best practices on how well you're able to accomplish that task. This is another really growing area that we're seeing in the marketplace demand for is how we know you can go through one of our guided labs. We show you how to do everything, but from a challenge standpoint is how do we know that from what they're learning, they're actually able to apply it in a real environment that's applicable to our organization. So lab challenges are a growing area, and these are going to give you a time-boxed event to complete within the environment, and then it will filter into that skill profile. So after consuming the initial assessments, that would create your initial skill profile for your organization, and then we would really start diving into what job roles, career paths that are going to be most important to you based on the skills that your organization is using. So within Cloud Academy, this is a new innovation. You're seeing another tab here within my panel here, careers is something that is going to be extremely important from a skill intelligence standpoint, and it solves for some of those challenges that Greg mentioned. So talent retention and making sure that individuals know what their pathway is in the organization, what skills are required, and how to get to that next level. This also really helps with retention because individuals are taking content that's customized to their role even within their organizations. So for this example, I'm going to use this front-end engineer career path. Once you define a career path, this would be a front-end engineer. There's going to be a variety of roles that are incorporated into that career path. So the example here is showing you a junior, mid, and senior front-end engineer, and we give you the ability to choose the skills that would be required for each one of these roles, and then the competencies. And then once you have these roles defined, another new feature and functionality that we're deploying is programs. So programs are similar to training plans, but they allow you to define whether it's an onboarding initiative or a certification initiative on a period of time. So if an individual were to onboard to your organization and become a junior front-end engineer, you can have a program for them to upskill to make sure that they have the necessary skills to be at the level that you expect when you bring them into the organization. And it really kind of ties back to our pre-hire assessment tool, which I won't cover today, but we do have the ability to even assess individuals before they do come into your organization. As a part of our services function, we can work with your organization to do a skills matrix and a discovery workshop where we're helping you map the skills and the content that would be relevant for individuals to complete to be successful in their roles. From a learning standpoint, once you have the career path defined, a job role defined, we assign out content to that. I'm going to give you an example of what a learning path would look like. So this would be what the individual would be consuming once that plan is assigned to them, relevant to their role. The example here would be the JavaScript for Beginners Learning Pathway. And this is one of the first learning paths that's incorporated in that job role that I just shared. What you're seeing on the screen here is a description of the learning path. After you complete it, you do get a certificate of excellence. We work with a lot of organizations that really value CPEs, so our content can help you get CPEs. And then there will be a description on what you're going to learn, prerequisites, and then you dive actually into the training content. Other quick highlights on this screen, if you wanted information on the author or you wanted to see the steps of any portion of the learning path, you have the ability to do so. This is a reminder that we also have a certification tracker. So as an organization, individuals can upload their certifications and you have a clear view into what your capabilities are from not only a skills perspective, but also a certification perspective. But back to the content. So our content is broken out into bite-sized consumable modules. So individual will go through this first course and then we throw them right into the fire into a hands-on lab. And this is going to be where they're actually practicing the skills that they learned in those videos. As you can see here, there's some more, it goes on a learn, do, and validate model. So they're going to learn in the courses, they're going to perform activities in the actual environment. So with JavaScript and other programming languages, we have a command line interface that's built within Cloud Academy. So giving you the ability to actually build skills in a practical environment. There will be knowledge checks that act as really a check up to that point on what knowledge has been acquired. And then at the end of the learning path, there would be an exam that would help you either validate the knowledge that you've consumed inside of the learning path, or in some cases, if it's a certification-based pathway, you'd be able to see if you're ready to go on and take that certification next. This one actually ends with a hands-on lab challenge. So this is similar to the assessment lab challenge that I shared with you, but this is really going to test your practitioner skill sets from a JavaScript from beginner's standpoint. All right, so now once individuals start going through and consuming anything that's related to a quiz, exam, or a lab, that's going to feed back into the skill profile. So this is where we started, and this is where we're providing the most value to organizations. We're giving them real-time insights into the skills, competencies, skill growth rate, and who are the most proficient individuals within their organization. When I talk to my clients, a really important piece in adopting learning platforms is we want to make sure that we're getting a return on investment. And this is the return on investment that's built within Cloud Academy, because you're actually proving that you're moving the talent needle forward. And I can give you a real world example of how a large tech company, one of the largest tech companies in the world, is leveraging Cloud Academy to build out their skills inventory, and they're putting some of those skills into action. So how they're using Cloud Academy is they're leveraging Content Engine to upload their own content, as well as consuming Cloud Academy content and building pathways that are relevant to their roles and career paths. From there, they take a look at the skills that they have. So if we're looking at this from a development standpoint, just tying back into the career path we were talking about, they can see who is proficient in which areas, the domains for development, and then even diving into the specific programming languages or software tools. And for example purposes, because there's data in here in my environment, I'll show you an example with Docker. This gives organizations the ability to see who has skills in Docker. In this case, this organization has 115 users in our demo environment, and 4 users have been assessed. So these would be the top 4 individuals within your organization. So this can help you build internal SMEs. It can help you prioritize individuals for projects. And that's similar to what this tech organization is doing. They're actually using this skill data to do skills-based routing on priority cases that individuals have, or organizations rather. So if you're an individual in an organization and you have an issue and you submit a support ticket, they're leveraging our skill data to map individuals to support those projects. So what they're seeing as a result of this is improving operational capabilities, faster time to respond to customer requests, actually a 75% increase in time to publish and build out pathways by leveraging the full skills inventory, skills intelligence platform, and then also an increase in customer satisfaction. So this is actually helping them gain more revenue within the organization because they're able to respond to their customers on a rapid basis very quickly, which helps build those relationships in general. So that is at a very high level, a very fast and quick and easy understanding of how Cloud Academy operates from a skills intelligence standpoint. And we'd love the opportunity to dive deeper into your use case. So if you have interest in talking with someone from our sales team, we'd be happy to make that introduction and have that conversation. But I do want to open the floor to see if you have any particular questions before we go ahead and wrap up the demonstration today. And I'll pass it to Tia to help us field some of the questions.
Alrighty. So thank you, Greg and Mark, so much for sharing your wisdom with us. The first thing is customization seems like a very unique differentiator and something that they haven't seen on other platforms. Mark, could you elaborate on how and what custom skills intelligence look like for organizations?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic question and one that our customers are doubling down on right now. In my demo environment here, you're not seeing any custom skills, but using Content Engine, we can create your own skill profiles and map those to the roles within your organization. So if you have a job role that's relative to Python, or I showed a Docker example. If you have somebody that's working with containers and the roles may be SRE, you can define those roles and map skills back to them and make it custom to your organization. So even tying back to the careers and the pathways that we're building, we can use our Content Engine tool to make the skill profiles custom to your organization. And just to double down on this, it's a really intuitive interface, really easy to add in resources into the Cloud Academy platform, or to use our native tool to actually build your own content. So within this area here, this is how you would upload a resource into Cloud Academy. And you gotta love technology taking a second to load. It is a demo environment. So within this area here, you can add a title to the resource. So maybe it's going to be something proprietary to a job role. So we're just gonna call it job role XYZ. Within this job role XYZ and the resource that you're adding, you have the ability to select a file from your computer or hyperlink out. So kind of going back to what Greg said from a customization standpoint, we do play well with other platforms and providers. So if you had really great content in another area, we can link out to that, or you can upload it natively. If you have SCORM packages, we can ingest those files and put them into Cloud Academy as well. You can add a description, you can add the difficulty level of the course. This is where you would add that skill objective, and then you would be able to upload those resources to the platform, and then ultimately building that back into the Cloud Academy library where you would have your own section. So in our demo environment here, you can see Acme exams and Acme catalog. This is where you would be able to see your custom content based on the library cards that you're adding. So it's really intuitive as far as being able to build and deploy your own content and making it extremely customized to what's most important to your organization. Thank you for that question.
Perfect. Next question is actually, I think, would be best for Greg to answer. We have a question: how do you culturally make skills and intelligence work? So like, what are key factors of success for implementation for organizations?
Yeah, good question. I alluded to it before in terms of, just providing the tools or e-learning in an unstructured way, has limited results. So it really needs to be an organized initiative, sponsored by executives and other leaders within the organization, where we can understand the goals of e-learning, right? Not just there for the sake of, taking a class or taking a course, which is also important, but tying it back to organizational objectives. Why do we want to improve the skills and talents within the organization? How is it going to help the organization accomplish its business outcomes? And sharing that with the teams, right? So they understand that when they're being asked to develop these skills, they can understand what it means for their careers personally, professionally, as well as what it means to the organization where they work and how they can see their own impact on those company goals. So I think clear articulation and constant communication of those goals and objectives will help this become interesting, exciting, hopefully competitive within the organization to really create a culture of learning. The other thing that we've seen is that organizations also need to make sure that there's time and space for their individuals to be able to do this, right? And that's always the challenge, is finding time to take courses. So if it's going to be a proactive and sponsored activity within the organization, leaders need to make sure that they're giving their employees room to do that and to be successful. Those are just a couple of ideas. We have a lot of others that our success team implements with our customers. So happy to have any follow-ups in terms of some other ideas and some tactics that we've seen really help further this notion of true skills intelligence.
Perfect, wonderful. Thank you guys so much. As promised, we are keeping this webinar kind of brief. So we are at the end of our time. Thank you again, Mark and Greg, so much for sharing your wisdom. Of course, thank you all that are joining us today. And at this moment, that concludes our webinar, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day. See you soon.
Thank you.